Let's call this meeting to order. First item of business is review and approval of the previous meeting minutes. Are there any changes, corrections, additions, whatever?
Yes, there, I have a correction on the vote on Doug's contract. I'm pulling up here. It's I believe the second motion. It's about the first and third bullets. I actually abstained on that, the second vote on that contract amendment. It says everyone carried unanimously. I abstained.
The one for
You thought-
reporting, Frank?
Oh, yes, correct.
Okay.
We thought you were kidding, Frank.
Well, you know,
Okay. Anything else? Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
I move that we accept the minutes.
Second?
Aye.
I'll-
Got it, Chris?
Yeah, I got it.
All in favor? Aye.
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 All right, let's move on. Audience participation, is anyone there?
we have 4.
No?
Yes, there are 4 people out there watching.
All right, let's see what we got. Would anyone in the audience have any comments, thoughts?
If you'd like to ask questions or comment, you can press *9 on your phone, or on the computer, press the raise your hand button.
No? Okay. Thank you for being here anyway. Director of Golf Course Properties, Doug and Paul.
All right, looks like Paul is not with us tonight. I know he said he was having internet issues at his house, so if he joins in, I did give him something to hit. If not, I'll cover it. So sent out my report earlier today. Sorry for the delay. It was a brief 6 pages for you guys. But, you know, I wanted to cover a lot for it. We had a lot going on the golf course. We're just about getting near the end of what I call summer. Usually around August 15th, everything starts changing. The humidity goes away, the weather, the nights start getting cooler, and the grass starts healing on its own. And but with all that, we're doing pretty good. I'm pretty happy with the current state of the greens and the rest of the golf course. We got a couple of damaged spots we're going to heal in with some seed and aeration work the next couple of weeks. We started on the Glen. We did all the greens and the approaches last Monday. We solid tined them all, verticut them, put a lot of seed down. Right now, I'd say we're pretty close to being 100% healed in on the greens. The seed on the approaches is really looking really good. You know, it's about 1 millimeter tall, but it's going to be a slow growth, get those things back to where we need it. But we were, as of today, able to get the greens back on their normal mowing schedule out on the Glen. I think we'll be fully healed in by next week, or by the end of this week. I'll hit on a few other spots. Again, the tees out there are getting a lot of divot work, which is good and bad. We're going to be seeding the tees on both courses in the next couple weeks. So we'll be using small holes, about 1/4 inch solid tine, and dropping seed into those holes. And we'll get some good growth with the time of weather we have right now. The fairways out on the Glen, we aggressively verticut 9 fairway. We added seed once. We're gonna add seed again tomorrow or Wednesday, depending on the weather. And I'm assuming we're gonna have a thunderstorm come tomorrow, so I may hold off just because the temperature change from Tuesday to Wednesday is about 10 degrees. So something drastic has to happen to make that weather change that much. Usually means thunderstorms. We also have a company coming out tomorrow with some demo equipment. They're gonna look at doing a couple of the fairways on the Glen, do some verticutting with equipment that is, you know, more modern. We're using about 30-year-old cedar to verticut our fairways. It's not the best, but we managed to get it done with it. So we're looking at some options for the next budget cycle to put in for capital. So we'll talk more about that, you know, during the budget cycle. And then on the Knowles course, the greens are doing really good. I was really happy with them. We had a really good men's member event last weekend with the greens. The weather was in our favor. It was cool in the 70s, and we got the greens as dry as we possibly could without killing them. And I know all the golfers thoroughly enjoyed it. And we had some tough pins out there for them, and had some crazy tee marker locations. And I think it was, well received and also not received well at all at the same time. The greens will not be aerated in their typical fashion this fall on the Knolls. We were very aggressive this spring while we were shut down. So we're going to do what's what I call a light verticut. Golfers may notice a little bit on Monday and Tuesday, but by Wednesday should be healed back in and ready for normal play. So we're going to remove a little bit of the thatch, put some sand down, mow right afterwards, and get them back in shape as fast as possible. Again, the tees, they're seeing a lot of divot use, but they're doing all right. The fairways normally would be aerated in the fall. Joe and I have a proposal for you guys a little bit later on. Our fairway aerator did break this spring. It was about 35 years old. It was it served its purpose. It's broken beyond repair. So this year, this fall, we're going to spot aerate the fairways that need a couple spots here and there, some help with our greens aerator. And we'll start that process in the next couple weeks. We survived the tropical storm pretty well. We only had a few, three or four trees that completely fell down, a lot of sticks, a lot of branches. The one thing we're facing now is all the maple trees on the south side are completely burnt. I'm sure you guys have seen it around town. Looks like the south side of the trees are in October mode and they're already dropping their leaves. Usually these trees recover next fall or next spring, so I'm not too worried about them, but we're just going to be doing some early leaf blowing this year. And then Don and I met with OSHA twice this past month. And I don't know if, Don, you want me to cover that, or do you want to cover what we went over and everything?
No, go ahead. You cover it. I'll fill in if needed. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so OSHA came in, had their closing conference, told us that there was going to be 2 citations involved with the chipper. We got the citations. We had an informal conference to try and reduce the citations and show, and the first citation was saying that we didn't have a hazard assessment performed to the golf course, which means I go in and assess every job and let the guys know, or the staff know, what the hazards will be. It turns out we did have that always done with the job board. OSHA never asked for it during the investigation, so I never gave it to them. During the informal conference Zoom call, we showed it to them. I ran through the whole job board. They were very impressed, but they chose to only give us a 50% discount on the station. Don and I were not agreeing with it, and we weren't happy with it, but it's, it is what it is, I guess. The second citation.
Let me just throw in.
Yeah.
We clearly were not in violation on the first citation. It had to do with personal protective equipment being assigned to various jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Doug showed him his program, which is tremendous. And they said, well, we're not allowed to eliminate a citation. We can only reduce the penalty, which kind of surprised me. But they couldn't do anything about it. So our only recourse would be to contest the citation. And I'm sure we would win. But that would cost more than the
Citation, right.
$300 that the fine was reduced to. Was it $300?
I think it was $210.
Oh yeah, to 210. So we're just going to have to pay them $210.
And we had to fill out a form saying that I've attested and reviewed all the jobs on the golf course and identified all the hazards with any of the tasks that I've already done anyways. Now we just have that on a piece of paper, and we'll be emailing that over to OSHA most likely tomorrow.
Does that stay on our record anyplace, that citation?
We have to post it for 3 days in my staff break room. And then I believe as far as, there's really no other posting that will go with it. I'm sure there's some kind of record somewhere. If people were to Google something, that it would be there.
Yeah, I was more wondering about the state. Does it stay in a state record someplace, a file someplace?
Yes.
Diane, it does go to the town. The town does keep, the HR department keeps any OSHA and violations like that. So the paperwork was filed with the town clerk's office. So it is maintained there. I mean, we keep our copies, but as a town it is.
Okay.
It is on a national database too. But,
Okay.
Yeah.
but it's not worth $210.
No, to fight it. No.
Yeah,
Costs more to fight it, actually.
yeah, most likely. The second citation was, I believe, failure to have a lockout tagout program for the chipper. It got a little hairy with that one because technically we did have a lockout tagout. It was always in the owner's manual. It seemed like they preferred us to have our own lockout tagout, which basically is just copied word for word from the owner's manual. So again, once we showed them that it was in the owner's manual, told them where all the owner's manuals are located in the shop, they reduced our fine by 50%. And part of the program is we're going to invite an OSHA consultant to come into the golf course shop and assess any lockout, tagout programs that would need to be put in place. Part of this program is they cannot fine us while the consultant is there doing anything unless they come back and we haven't done anything, then they can issue fines. After reviewing the equipment myself, I don't think we have too many items that require a lockout tagout program. We know the chipper does have one, it's already written, and there may be others, but so we're gonna use this consultant to help us identify any of these problems. Are there any questions with any of that?
The total fine will be $660. Okay,
All right.
what else, Doug?
That's pretty much all I really wanted to cover. Like I said, I'm pretty happy with the state of the golf course right now. I will just say we did have a new employee start today. And at the same time, we're losing one employee. He's a seasonal employee working about 20 hours a week. He was able to find a full-time job at Longshore Golf Course down in Norwalk. So we had a 1-for-1 trade right now, and the job posting was posted on Friday for more seasonal keepers. So once we get more staff in, it's going to take about 2 to 3 weeks from the day I interview and hire someone to get that person on board. We'll be able to get some more work done on the golf course. But otherwise, my report is there, and if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer anything.
I'd just like to thank you for the large print. Little things in life, Doug.
Sad. That's sad. All right, next, Frank.
Hello, we had our Green Committee meeting on August 12th. As in my report, the season is very challenging at Tonawanda due to the virus, reduced staffing due to the hiring freeze at the town level, and now the tropical storm, resulting in course cleanup and the prolonged power outage. As a result, the priorities of the course throughout the year have been constantly changing, mostly focused on the playing areas. I'd like to thank Don and Doug and the town for getting that hiring freeze lifted, and so we can get some help out there and making sure our workers are truly essential, keeping this town's one of its biggest jewels up and running. Audubon practices are in place in many areas. However, the paperwork has been slowed, but some of those practices this is the first year no pesticides are reaching the ponds. There are no spray zones, about 20 yards. Doug, is it 20 yards or feet from the
Feet.
ponds? 20 feet?
Yeah.
No, spray zone's 20 feet from the ponds. The stone wall clearing on 14 has commenced, starting to get to its old grandeur it was a couple of years ago, so it's gonna go all the way to the 15th tee. Irrigation system's working as best as it could, being an old system. Several areas of concern on the Glen were discussed, and Doug is managing these areas as they come up, including when the staffing gets in, they'll be able to clear out some areas between 2 and 3 to prevent more airflow and sight lines on the golf course. Usually the trying to find blocked air vents in some of the greens, which will help air circulation and drainage for those greens. Winter projects were discussed, including drainage on 1 and 3 of the Glen, 2, 7, and 8 of the Knolls. In addition, we're going to prioritize that list and have it for you guys next meeting. One of those projects on there I just wanted to mention, because Doug touched on aeration of tees on the Knolls. The tee on 13 that needs the most help will not be aerated, because we're going to be stripping that, putting the sod on the side, leveling it, and bringing the sod back. So we don't want to poke a bunch of holes in that sod surface. So it'll come apart in pieces if we try to sod cut that after an aeration. So a new business, we had the Green Committee put together a project plan, both for the 2022 budget and the 5-year plan. We'll have that in time for the September meeting. The storm damage on the course is minimal, as Doug said. Emergency access points of the golf are relatively clear and only need minor repairs so that they don't get grown over, and that's been done. And after the meeting, we gave Shelley a tour of the maintenance facility, explained the equipment. If you saw any questions we had, we answered for her, and that is my thing. We only wanted to add also, we're hopefully the golden, and something good out of this coronavirus is that this late hiring, we'll be able to have a winter crew this year and get some projects done. Because that is when the golfers are not in the course and the maintenance staff can really get some work done during the winter months and the off season. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, thank you, Frank. Bobby,
Thanks. Before I start, just I'm sure Doug knows that the air raid on pond 4 is out. I don't know if,
Yeah, we're having some issues with that one. It seems whenever there's lightning in the area, it surges out, and I got to reset it. I just didn't have the reset board is locked behind the bathroom, and I didn't have my keys on me today to go and unlock it. So I'll get to that one tomorrow.
all right.
Probably need to look at having an electrician maybe take a look at it, see why it's doing that, and we'll do that in the off season.
Okay. Just quickly, I'll just kind of touch on some points. Rounds and revenue, I'm sure Joe will cover that, but remain steady for August. Despite the hard tropical storm and, our power outage and some rainstorms, but people still are high demand for play continues. I just want to first of all, in my absence, I was away that week on vacation, and I want to thank, Don and Christine and Doug. It's kind of a chore. Doug didn't know we had a generator. I actually reached out to Hidalgo, and he was kind of helpful, but we couldn't find a cord. So Doug and Paul spent a better part of a day searching for a cord. But it was great. It was a good experience to go through, and we'll be better prepared next time with regards to a generator. And then also Dave Bovee, in my absence, taking care of, with the girls working on the porch, handling a lot of cash, and being able to reconcile and balance that out every day and keep the place moving as best we could, which this is probably our 10th event like this. So this is nothing new, really abnormal for Dave anyway. We've been through many of these at Tashua. But AT did really well.
Bobby, I just want to, that really was an admirable job. For those of you that didn't play during those couple of days, to see how they set things up outside and handled the money, and Dave was running around just 12 hours a day supervising, and the kids were great. So it was excellent.
Thanks. Tea times continue to be sold out on the Knolls, which is great. We're starting to lose daylight on the early start of the day and also at the end. So our rounds will start to decline slightly due to the regular daylight. The Glen is starting to taper off a little bit. Obviously last week with the aeration, we did run the special Monday through Friday just to kind of alleviate some, reduce the complaints. Like Doug said, the greens are starting to heal and the course is already in a mending stage. So we should be back up and running. We started selling regular price on Saturday. So we're back to our normal price. So we'll probably still do decently revenue wise, even with less play, because we're making more per player. But I'll constantly monitor that as we go into the fall, and then maybe bring the special back if we have to. The advanced tea time reservation system remains consistent. It's really right now it's an educational process. Every week we get new people inquiring still about how to get tea times, and so that continues to keep that strong, and that will last up until the third week of September. That's when we normally shut down the rack, and then we usually just go to a 7-day advanced computer system. So unless you guys want me to keep it going a little longer, which would be a change to our policy, but that's not a problem if we have to keep it going longer. But if we don't, it's going to be another change for the public not calling in 10 days out, and they'd be like everybody else booking tea times online at midnight 7 days out, which most people do anyway for the weekdays. Operational wise, the men's club had their first 2-day tournament. The member, it was a huge success this year. 92 players, their most in a long time. We did our Saturday was tea time. Sunday was our first shotgun. We did a 7 a.m. shotgun. Dave and Teddy did a great job. I came in just to kind of supervise for the hour, and then they did a great job spreading the carts out, in threat of any socially distant complaints. It was really well done, and I felt very confident that we did a good job, and the people, the customers and players felt really comfortable. In the event, we happened to rain that day, but I think the people played in 4 hours. So the men's club we're going to do it again for their member guest, which has been now instead of 2 days, it's going down to 1 day. So we'll do a 7:30 shotgun on Sunday, September 13th. And that's been approved by the commission last year at one of their meetings. So that should be good. We do have some tournaments coming up. I don't think Christine and I have heard anything otherwise between HBRA and the Rotary. They still plan on doing their outing. And I have the Southern Connecticut Women's Group I have about 90 women potentially coming on the 14th of September. Well, they're going to do tea times. They're not going to do a shotgun. So that should just be like a normal day. The ATK I had to purchase a new range cart for picking the range, and we got new balls up there. We've had them for about maybe a month and a half. So we continue to, provide, new balls to our customers, and a range cart. We had some problems. I had my whole family and staff coming in at 5 a.m. to pick the range before play. So it was an interesting summer. This Wednesday, the Advanced Tea Time Committee, we're having meetings to look at new point of sale systems. We have 2 meetings scheduled on Wednesday, one with Easy Links Golf, which is also Golf Now, and then also one with Chrono Golf. They're out of Canada. So that will be this Wednesday, and then we'll set up some more meetings to meet with some other companies probably the following week. And then lastly, I faxed over the bid specs to Joe, and Joe and I will meet and get the bid specs out for the upcoming cart bid, which will go out probably sometime like around September 10th. So and that's all I have. Any questions?
Questions for Bobby? No?
Bobby, how long was the electricity out after the storm?
It went out on Tuesday, and we got it back on Friday night. When which was able to allowed us to charge the carts up, and we had them for Saturday play, but there was still, people just assumed we had no carts. So I guess on that Saturday play was down. It wasn't as solid as it was. So it impacted us we had no carts on Thursday and Friday, I believe, primarily. They couldn't recharge.
Yeah.
On our bid, are we still going lithium batteries, or are we going, try to get a lower price on the older batteries?
Good
Why don't we
point.
hold off?
Yeah.
Would you hold off on that, Frank, till we get to that section? If
Okay.
Joe's involved? I'll just hold that thought. Anything else?
The only thing I need from the commission is regarding the advanced tea times for the fall. Just let me know what we should do. Should we continue it into maybe early October, just to keep it consistent? Or are we going to go through, or just go to the 7-day out booking by computer?
What would make it easy for you, Bobby?
I would say we'll start closing the pro shop probably by that end of September. We'll probably start closing the daylight probably 5:30. So there'll be, I'll just have to keep staff there an extra half an hour, and just cover that. So I think we should probably rack up until the first week of October, so I can at least get through the middle of October. I have a feeling that play is going to stay strong, because I think things are going to change with schools and things like that. I think, people aren't going back to work in terms of going into the office. I think we're going to be busy.
I mean, I think we ought to just monitor the demand, The calls keep coming in. We certainly don't want to turn that over to our computer system if there's still the same high demand. That's the problem. So let's just see how the demand goes as, next week, so we're getting into October. But I think you should keep it going until otherwise advised.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
Do we need to vote to adjust a policy like that? Like to keep it for the month of September, or?
When does it usually stop? Mid-September, we said?
The third Thursday in September is usually the last rack of the year, and then we switch over to computer tea times. 7
Okay,
days.
and that would be basically the last week of September, right?
I think we rack for the first weekend in October, and that's it.
But that's not a rule, is it? That's not in the rules.
That's listed on our racking policy.
Yeah. I have to
My
pull
racking
through it.
procedure. I don't think people are going to call us out on that.
No, but I think, that gets us to first week in September, which is our next meeting. So if we want to extend it by 1 week, we can discuss it next meeting.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Point.
Just keep it going until our next meeting at least.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. And then we'll go over it then.
Okay.
Could I just add to Bobby, in regard to the tournaments, Habra has been in contact with me about their menu options and what they can do. They fully intend to come. They're planning for it. They asked me on Monday for some options for food. I sent the request immediately over to Dominic and have not heard back. I think between you, me, and Joe, we really have to follow up on this and make sure that for this one and the Rotary that the food gets handled correctly. It's been over a week now, and that's just not right.
Chris, have you heard from Habra since then? I spoke to Dominic on Wednesday, and I gave Sarah's contact details, and he was going to reach out directly.
They have not. I was not in today, but
Okay.
As of Thursday, they had not heard.
Okay. Well, I'll follow up then with Dominic.
Okay, and we just should really make sure that they're happy with what he's offering.
Yep.
And it's
Okay.
probably not too soon to reach out to Rotary and find out what they want to do.
Okay.
Again, it's probably a revenue neutral event for us, the tournament at this point, but
This year, yeah.
yeah. All right, Dick, House Committee.
All right, not much going on this month. Thank God, everything ran pretty smooth. There was a flush valve on the men's, one of the men's urinals that was leaking that Joe notified Dominic, and I'm assuming it was repaired. Christine contacted the health department to have them search their records for the septic system up at the maintenance barn, and they were unable to find any record of that septic system. She also contacted Mondo Septic and had them pump the septic system for the cart barn and the on-course bathrooms, and at the same time asked them to try to find the clean out for the maintenance barn. And ultimately, I'll skip down to the bottom, the maintenance barn was pumped and they did find the clean out or the tank, and it was kind of right there all the time, but nobody knew where it was. It was covered by some grass, and therefore it wasn't really visible. But that has been cleaned out, and thankfully there was no issue with it while it had not been cleaned out. There was a faucet in the ladies' room that was malfunctioning. Dominic was notified and is taking care of it. And he is also cleaning daily the ladies' locker room and bathrooms, and trying to get rid of the smell that occurs there every year when the humidity and the heat come in. And I'm assuming that's better, Christine?
Yeah, it's fine now. She is cleaning every morning. She's doing a good job.
And he's cleaning.
Nice.
That's great. The golf course is back to normal. Everything's up and running after the storm. Carts are available. Routine maintenance on the air conditioning system was scheduled for 8/14, which was a Friday, and they were trying to reschedule it so Doug or a staff member could be there to unlock the utility room. However, they, I guess, had it done on that day anyway, and I'm not sure how they got into the room. Maybe
I opened it for him.
Bobby opened the room for them, and I guess they the air conditioning people were there and then left, and apparently there was another issue. Do you know what that other issue was, Bobby? And they had to come back.
I went downstairs just to kind of check on it, and Dominic told me everything was done, but I walked in there and there was like a smell and water leaking all over the place. And so, I said, Dominic, this is not right. So he called them back, and he said one of our hot water tanks was leaking, so they fixed it. So it should be all fixed now.
All right. Also, they were supposed to leave a copy of the paperwork, the invoices or whatever, just documenting what they had done so that we could keep it in our records. And to date, they have not provided us with that paperwork. That's about it for all that I have for this month.
Questions for Dick? All right, well, we got the septic tanks cleaned, and we got the air conditioner fixed, and the ladies' bathroom doesn't smell.
We're
That's a
ready to
good
go.
month. That is a good month.
Thanks for the recap, Don.
Don, don't get wise. We didn't clean them out at the clubhouse, so we still got work to do. It's not a home run.
It's a good month. Stop.
Rick.
Joe.
Yep.
Finance.
So, just one comment on concessionaire Dominic. I know he's not here tonight. I met with him last week. He is looking to have private events where there will be 100 people outside under his tent, and he'll rotate 20 people in at a time for a food buffet. He was concerned that if the town closed the facility due to non-compliance and mask wearing, if he would be subject to closing his event. So we are out to the town with that request or how they would see that guidance, which we're awaiting feedback on.
Joe, I don't see a problem with that because it's like, I mean, I know George is going to make a decision on that, but that'd really be more of the golfers not complying. It really shouldn't affect Dominic and.
Exactly. And I think that's how I phrased it to George. I said, any questions, feel free to reach out to us. But basically the pro shop door and the front door would be locked. And then the only access to the bathrooms would be through Dominic, through the grill room. So I don't see a problem with it, but let's see what the town comes back with.
I have one concern. Going into the fall with daylight diminishing. I know if he starts ramping up with some parties, which I'm psyched for him. I know he needs that money. But I think we might have to do, maybe you guys take a look, and we gotta make sure we have proper lighting. If people are gonna be walking outside, and I just don't want anybody to trip or else get sued or something,
In the tent or in that area?
The tent, or even having to walk around the building, like in the back, like if they come in by the pro shop doors, that's kind of dark. When it's gonna start getting dark around 7, then be 6:30 probably by the end of September.
Bobby, why would they walk around to the pro shop doors if they're going to be under the tent and filing in to his banquet area? There's no.
But they shouldn't. But if they had a party, people kind of wander and have a smoke break, and I just think
Wouldn't those doors be locked?
yes, yeah.
Well, if they park in the wrong lot, they walk around the building.
We don't have really any lighting.
Doug, could you maybe just look into it or see any options that we have for, the last thing we want is somebody to be on a smoke break and trip and sue the course or something like that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you got to cover all your liabilities.
Yeah.
Especially in today's world. So, yeah, I can take a look and see what we have for lighting. And, when I get to work at 5 a.m., it's pitch black still. So I can drive up there and see what we got.
Okay. Just let us know. And, if there's any easy solutions we can do.
Yep.
Joe, I have a question. He's going to
Yep.
have events with 100 people under the tent. And then what is he having, the buffet indoors?
That was the intention. So whatever the current requirement of the state is what he's going to allow inside. And then you go in for the food buffet, you get your food, and you come back out and you eat your food.
So
is how he's envisioning it.
Literally counting, because once you put that food out,
Yeah.
it's like a mad dash.
And that was the other point I was discussing with him was, it's not 25 guests inside, it's 25 total people. So if there's 5 employees, that means there's only 20 guests, right?
Right.
So, but that's on him to monitor, just like the traffic through the pro shop is on us to monitor, so to speak.
Okay.
As well as mask compliance during those events, because once you're walking around, you need a mask.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
I'll be sure to bring that up, Frank, as well to him, because something wasn't discussed, but that's a good point.
Yeah, well, it would also be my understanding that the health department is going to get after him as a restaurant versus us. I'm sure he'll be inspected for it because he gets regular inspections for that.
Right. Okay. I'll when I hear from the town and I follow up with Dominic, I'll just be sure to touch on all those points. But the idea is basically we all share a building together, and if for some reason our golfers aren't compliant with the mask restriction and they shut down the building, is he then restricted, or what's the town's view on that? All right, moving on. Any questions on that, guys?
Nope.
All right, moving on to the finance and budget. So fiscal year 2020, our income was $1,871,053. Our total expenses was $1,811.75. So our earnings were $59,977. Most of the savings came in the form of salaries, and that was just because the seasonal reductions that we had due to COVID and the hiring freeze of the town.
How much did we save in seasonal salaries?
I ran the numbers today, and I think it was 37,618. Do you want? I can share my screen and have these numbers with you.
No, that's
if you want
fine.
that.
No, just
Okay.
round figures. So we saved about 37K in seasonal salaries.
Right.
The encumbrance is not spent. Do we have any idea if we're spending those?
Don, the numbers that Joe just read are, all the encumbrances are not going to be spent, but the Munis report looks very messy now because in some areas, rather than taking from it from the encumbrances, they took it and it looks like we're negative and we're not, but I went through and added and subtracted everything. So the numbers that Joe just read off are as accurate as I could get them right now, including everything.
So it's possible we made $60,000 last fiscal year.
Well, the only thing that I'm going to caution is that I know I still have invoices out from April. So I would guess at this point that we will not be in the red. I think your treading
Wow.
water scenario would be accurate, because I truly do
Okay,
not
no,
have a handle on what's out there yet, but there are definitely some more that have not been paid. Several of the easy go.
so this might be optimistic, but we might not be in, there's a good chance we're not in the red, which is
Right.
great.
Yeah, I would not think we would be in the red.
Great.
So, and just to bring that to everyone's attention, there is an issue with the town. Right now, the golf course submits vendor invoices to the town and the town pays them. Because the town's been shut down since March, invoices have not been being paid on a timely manner. So we are 3 to 4 months behind schedule. I've addressed that with some people at town hall. Hopefully in the coming weeks, we'll see an improvement, but it's a work in progress.
Are we incurring late fees on those late invoices?
Yes, on some of them. It is more on the utility end, and I don't see the utilities as much as some of the others, but definitely some of them have late fees.
All right. Any questions on that? All right, moving on to something positive. The income for July, we were up $47,263. We rented 357 carts more than 2019. The Knolls saw 513 more rounds than 2019. And the Glen, we saw 1,300 more rounds than 2019. That being said, August, as of 8/15, we're down 23,000. And that's mainly because of the Knolls rounds and the rainouts and reduced capacity because of the hurricane.
And the closure, right, with COVID? We couldn't open.
For August?
Oh, sorry. No.
Yeah, so the next effect, the next slide is the COVID effect, right? And so I just want to see how we're tracking compared to last year. And we're still 83,000 less than this time last year, just to give you guys an idea of,
Wow.
there's still a gap that we have to make up this year to be on track of last year. COVID really hurt us by about 180,000, and we've made up 100,000, but there's still room to close.
Yeah, but we'll save a little bit. If you look at July and August put together, we're ahead. Plus,
With the savings.
compared to last year, plus we have less expenses because of
Right.
the seasonal salaries are down in those months. So,
But some of that was recognized in 2020, so we just have to
yeah, no,
be cautious. So miscellaneous here, my last slide. Director of Golf course properties raise was approved by the Board of Finance, 6-0. Seasonal overtime, $12,500 was not covered by the FEMA expense. So we'll have to recognize that in the fiscal year 2020. The good news is because of less seasonal employees, we saved $37,600, which will reallocate some of that to the budget. So we're still okay. And then Don, you briefly touched on this. I didn't have an update, but we requested to hire more seasonal employees, which was accepted by the town. So we've hired one so far. And Doug, I don't know how many more you intend to hire this season, but that's
How many, Doug?
Yeah, I think we're hoping to pick up 5 to 6 more seasonal employees, about 20 hours a week.
great.
Okay. Questions of Joe? Okay. Moving along. Any correspondence, Chris?
Nope, all good in that area.
Okay. Old business, the cart bid, Joe.
Yep. So Bobby and I talked last week. We saw the cart bid from last year that we submitted, and we will revise it probably this week to have it to town hall by next week. Few questions that we had. One, Frank touched on it earlier, the lithium batteries. I don't know if you guys have a feeling on that, if you want to poll the players, any comments to that regards? Lithium versus, what's the other model, Bobby?
Lead acid, like we have
Lead
now.
acid.
I think the main criteria I would have is that the warranty matches the lease length.
Yes.
And, you know, and then it's just dollars and cents, line up the dollars and cents. And you're going to ask for both ways? You're going to look for both ways, or?
Yeah, I mean, that's, I think looking for both ways is a smart way to go. Also, with regards to the GPS systems, I think we should make that bare bones. You know, we don't need to have the pretty picture of the hole. I mean, I think as long as it gives you yardage, I mean, I think we need it for the cart control. But that puts Easy Go more in the, not Easy Go, Club Car more in the game as well. Where we can get one of their lesser expensive systems. I like going, I think lithium, there's still not enough facts out in the field about that. The cost is definitely, I mean, going to be up there. If we get you know, we usually do a 5-year lease, which lowers our payments. So going to a 4-year lease, which would match the battery warranty, would be a little bit more than probably what we normally pay. But I think in the long run, I think that might be a way to go.
Okay.
To keep costs down, but I think bid it both ways, and then the commission will, you know, get to decide and go from there.
Well, the lithium, you might get a 6-year warranty, correct?
Yeah, you'll get you easily.
And the lead acid, you might only get a 4-year warranty.
You're going to only get a 4-year warranty.
So,
We take good care of them. We're one of the best facilities in terms of how we take care of our carts. So,
all right, well,
this year the batteries we're doing pretty well though. It's the monitors that are failing, not the batteries right now.
And I know, Bobby, I know we briefly discussed the GPS, but is there a feeling amongst the commission, is GPS wanted, or are there any comments or concerns? I mean, just to give you an idea, we're paying, you know, $2,700 a month for that GPS unit and all those carts.
The one thing I can add for that is, you know, if we don't have GPS, we're going to have a lot of ropes and stakes out there.
Right.
And so there is going to be an increase to the labor to get those stakes out on rainy days instead of just hitting a button and bam, we got carts zoned off.
Mhm.
So usually I personally hate ropes and stakes on a golf course. I love the GPS for that. but that's just, you know, grumpy superintendent talking.
Yeah,
And the other thing too is like, I know it's not a number that's been separated out, but we traditionally do about $475,000 in cart revenue a year. And if our lease payment with the GPS is only $95,000 a year, that's a pretty big gain in revenue.
profit, yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
Do you think
I
you would
don't,
decrease that though?
it's not going to decrease. It's going to probably
Yeah.
go. You know,
So
we're
I
probably
mean, if you,
over $100,000 probably a payment, but we're still going to net. We're still going to net about $350,000 a year in cart revenue.
right, so I mean, at $2,700 a month, it's $32,000 a year that we could save. So in theory, we could profit, you know, 120,000 versus 90,000.
Well, there'd be more damage on the course without the geofencing
Yeah,
as well.
right.
Is there a different level of GPS that's not 2,700 or maybe 2,000 or things of that nature? I think Bobby was touching on. Like a bare bones version that's less expensive.
With EasyGo, I don't think with EasyGo we can. Maybe with Club Car we can. If they happen to win the bid. Yamaha is not really going to be able to compete with this because they don't really have a good electric cart. I've already seen the rep already came and visited me, and he was asking me if we'd be interested in going back to gasoline carts. So we're not set up for that. But the GPS, I'll try to get again. We'll just get a bare bones system. I think if we turn away from get rid of the system, I think we're going to have some complaints. But I think from our experience, the Rangers, when we never had the geofence, like Doug was saying with the ropes, the Rangers would spend most of their day just chasing people down. And as soon as they drive away, you know, they're probably giving them the bird in the rearview mirror. And they back out there just driving where they shouldn't be driving. And it's like, and it creates a lot of bad will. The one thing about this geofence, you're the one that put your cart there. So you're the one that has to back it out. It's shame on you. And there's really nobody, you know, there's nobody really to blame but yourself, the customer, which is great.
In the computer.
Non-confrontational.
I don't think you can not have a GPS system after you've had one for all of these years.
That's what I was going to say. It's
I
really
agree.
backwards. It's
I
really,
agree.
It can certainly be more, you know, it doesn't have to be, you know, the greatest in the world. It can be bare bones, but we have to have something. We can't just undo that, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
I
too.
agree.
I think from a customer standpoint, I think it was well received, and I think customers look forward to that. You know,
yeah.
I think it'd be a mistake to get rid of it.
It also serves as a theft deterrent since you can't drive it off the property.
Well, we look forward to seeing those numbers, Joe and Bobby, and those alternatives.
Don, I didn't chime in time for correspondence. Former Commissioner Julie Jenkins contacted Doug, Christine, and I about some of the flower beds around the cart barn, the front barn that were not as maintained as they were in the past. And I explained to her the staffing issues and how we concentrated on the areas of play. And that once we got seasonal staff, those would be addressed. And actually, Doug is addressing them currently with his new hire.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And Don, one more thing before we wrap up finance, I should have said too, we are unbelievably enough starting the next budget process, and we're putting together worksheets. So every committee needs to, by the September meeting, get in requests, must have, might have, want to, on anything on the rack time if we're thinking about. I know it's difficult right now to put in exact numbers, but placeholders at this point, what we're thinking of. For those of you that are new, we kind of get a draft going October, November, and we vote in our December meeting. So, if you want requests, now's the time to think about them and get them in. I know Doug is working on it, Bobby's working on it, but as commissioners, if you have requests, get them in.
And that's all run through Joe, correct?
Right. Yeah,
Okay.
we're already putting the draft together, updating the numbers that we know have changed. The bonding will have a little bit more breathing room on bonding, but So we're starting it all over again.
Okay. All right. Advanced tea time reservation policy, Tom Cerulli.
Yeah, so Bobby mentioned it earlier, but Shelley, Bobby, Don, and myself met last week, talked about what the game plan is going forward. We had gotten together our matrix of all the different options from all the different municipal courses in the area. And the next step in the plan was to start to have meetings with some of the different system vendors. And on Wednesday, in 2 days, we're going to be Zoom calling with Chrono and EasyLinks. And there's probably 3 or 4 other ones that were that are on the list to get scheduled to meet with, basically to go over what their capabilities are and what our needs are, what their capabilities are. Hopefully they match up, and maybe try to get some kind of rough idea of what the cost is going to be. I mean, I don't know that there's going to be any hard numbers to be able to talk about without having a specific system in place that we want to have be able to be programmed in. But I think that's one of the things we're going to end up having to talk about, their capabilities matched up with our needs. So on Wednesday morning, we're going to be Zoom calling with those 2, and then hopefully Bobby's kind of taking the lead on setting up the calls with the different vendors. So hopefully we can get that done, you know, with the other vendors other than the first 2 in the next, hopefully in the next week or so, because as Chris just said, we need to start to think about what some of these numbers are going to play out like. So, so nothing really changed in terms of the last meeting, except that we met and scheduled some meetings with the vendors. So, and we filled out our matrix a little bit more completely with some information. So,
Well, let me just say, we're probably going to have to, well, we should budget for a system. And we'll be budgeting for a system before we probably even decide if we're going to have a system.
Right. It's always
So-
better to over budget than to under budget.
Correct. So we might have to budget $20,000, another $20,000. And we'll talk about this a little bit later in executive session, but we're looking at a lot of $20,000 more that we're budgeting for, we'll have to budget for. And then, you know, once we have all the information, we can make a reasonable decision. But my point is we'll have to budget for it before we even know if we're going to do it or not. So any questions on that?
The only thing I'll mention is if we have a meeting with more than 2 commissioners, we should have it recorded, right? Because that's a quorum in theory.
Yeah, minutes were taken, stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah,
Quorum.
exactly.
Quorum is,
It's anything more than 2 commissioners.
No, it's a certain percentage of the commission. I can't remember what the percentage is.
It's a quorum for a vote, but when you have more than 2 commissioners, it's an illegal meeting. It's apples and oranges. When you have more than 2 commissioners, when you have 3 commissioners, technically it has to be an open meeting. The public should be invited and you do have to take minutes.
Noted.
what does that mean?
That
I
means
won't go- Huh?
that only 2 whenever there's any committee meetings, it has to only be 2 commissioners.
And meetings or minutes have to be submitted.
But then you have to notify the public before you do it?
Yes.
How
We got-
much?
We got our normal meetings we have on Monday night. I think there's a certain period, right, Chris? 7 days or 5 days?
Yeah, well, it's 24 hours with an agenda, but like even on the Green Committee where we have 3 commissioners do it, the meeting schedule is posted. You can have 2 and have it, but you can't have 3.
Yeah, that's why we have it posted outside Christine's office, our schedule, and then we have her take minutes, or I would take the minutes when she's not available. And then that's what my report is every month, the minutes.
So when we met hiring Doug, when we had 4 of us,
That you were negotiating a contract, but anytime we have 3, we can't, yeah.
well, no, we were not negotiating a contract. We were.
Well, you were interviewing him, you were interviewing a candidate.
That's
And that's what
personnel.
That's what we're doing here.
No, you're discussing a policy.
No, we're interviewing companies. I mean, I understand what you're saying. I get the point. But I'm just, what's the
I think,
difference?
I mean, just to push this to bed tonight, going forward, anytime there's 3 commissioners, at least notify Christine so we can either say this is a private contract negotiation or this is a policy discussion, and then we can move from there.
Let's get the exact wording, okay? Can we do that?
That is the exact wording. 3 commissioners is going to be
No,
in a
I
legal
would like-
meeting.
We met. No, there has to be some words around it. Because you can't have interviews for candidates that you're hiring and invite the public.
Then you do that in executive session. You can have a meeting that's just an executive session.
Okay. All right, we will have to, I will ask the town attorney what the rule is, the exact language.
Yeah, I
So
think
what
it's
does
just
that-
clean.
What
Go
does
ahead. Go ahead,
I'm
Tom.
sorry, Joe, go ahead.
No,
What
go
does that
ahead. Go.
mean what does that mean for our Zoom calls on Wednesday, man?
That's what I was going to ask.
I will check, you two will do it, I will check with the town attorney. See what the language is, and I will ask him. Okay?
That's
Okay.
a freedom of
If I'm
information.
not allowed, I will not attend, that's all. You plan on attending. Bobby's not on the commission.
Yeah.
So that, he doesn't count. But that just seems, you can't have a committee of 3 people meeting.
You can't
to-
have a meeting of 3 people. 3 commissioners,
Right.
right?
So 3 commissioners can't meet on a subject with a vendor or whatever.
Without making it, you can meet, you can do it, but you have to take minutes and make it a meeting.
Right.
Well,
Or you
making
can-
minutes is not a problem.
As long as it fits the executive session criteria of, I forget, Christine can inform us on the 6 or 7 reasons to have an executive session, then you can have it private.
Okay. I'll check with the town attorney. And I will bow out if there's a problem.
So I have a regular question for Tom on the meeting the other day is, you said you did a matrix of all the other golf courses around the area. How many had our situation?
Our situation meaning what?
The way tee times were scheduled on Saturday and Sunday, there's, the rest.
Nobody has an in-person rack. The Richfield course actually still has an in-person lottery on Tuesday morning at 6 o'clock in the morning. That's the only other in-person for the prime time weekend times that I can tell. Everything else is somehow computer driven. Some of them are, well, there's a lottery system. There's just first come or fastest finger on the computer system at a certain time, and then there's different levels of who's allowed to get tee times in terms of residents versus non-residents, or non-residents buying into a resident a position, so to speak.
Yeah.
There's different ways that different towns do it, but the only other in-person was Ridgefield, which was a lottery, in-person lottery.
Are they in public course, 18
Yes,
holes?
yeah,
Thank you.
yep.
Doesn't Fairchild have a rack, an in-person rack? I don't know about since
You
COVID,
know,
but they did have.
yeah, we didn't look at Fairchild just because there's 2 courses there, and it's really difficult to find information online about them. It would have required a bunch of phone calls. We were able to get all the information, making a few phone calls to some of the other places for all the other courses, but we didn't look at Fairchild. We looked at all the other, essentially all the other courses in Fairfield County, except for Fairchild. So does Fairchild, is that the case? They do have a in-person rack?
They
Oh,
did.
they
I
do?
don't know if they changed it since COVID, but they did. That's how they handed out their tea times for the men's club on Saturday, Sunday mornings.
Yeah.
No, we can find out.
Yep.
I don't know that they're
Yeah.
a, you know, a competitor of ours per se, but we can certainly look at it. Anything else for Tom? Okay, does anybody have any new business they want to bring up? Okay.
No, can I make a comment, Don? Can I make a quick comment
Yeah.
about something you guys were talking about earlier, and it kind of dawned on me when you guys were talking about OSHA and the fines and violations, and how the minimal violation wasn't worth fighting. Is somebody looking into what it's going to do to the workers' comp insurance cost? Because it might not be worth fighting short term from a win-lose standpoint, but if you're going to have 2 violations and your comp insurance is going to go up because of it. I don't know. It's just a thought. You know, if somebody might want to look into that.
Well, I worked in that area for a lot of years, and somebody talking? I worked in that area for a lot of years, and that was never an issue. A minor citation doesn't get affected, doesn't impact workers' comp rates. They just do it on experience rating. If you've had a lot of serious accidents or deaths, or you might not, the insurer may not take you. But as far as a rate, it's not built into the rate. But we're a big enough town that a minor OSHA citation isn't going to be a factor. I mean, if somebody has another thought, that's fine, but I worked in that area a lot of years.
Don, I agree with you, but I could just run that question by Dan Martin, see if he knows. I'll just email him and see if he knows an answer, or Maria,
Okay.
but I think you're right.
Any other new business? Okay. I'd like to go into executive session to discuss a contractual matter.
I
I need
move,
somebody to make a motion, right?
I move
A motion.
to go into executive session to discuss a contractual matter.
Second, okay. Does everybody have the,
Don, is anybody else invited? Is Bobby invited?
oh, yeah, I'm,
Yeah,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, Bobby's invited. He will stay for any questions we may have of him, and then he will depart.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, that's true. Thank you. Frank, what?
No, just say bye, Doug.
Second.
See ya.
Oh, okay, yeah, bye, Doug. Okay, we can leave
Good night.
this meeting and go to the executive session.
We're back, Bill.
Snuck in there. I didn't see you.
All right.
Are we all back?
Okay, we left executive session 9:15. Everybody here?
I think so.
Yep. Angelo. Angelo.
Angela, yeah.
Was he on a phone?
No, Tom was.
Oh,
Okay, well, let's, we have a quorum, so we can still, motion to, is there anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah,
I'll second it.
we're not too happy.
Kelly, all right. Hasta la vista. See you next time. Thank you.
Thank
Night.
you all.
Thank
All
you.
right, good night, everybody.
Night.